Hi, Nigel. It's been 23 days since you lied about some grooming gang survivors whilst exploiting another one in a press conference. That's 23 days where you've been holding press conferences, holding interviews, and nobody has asked you why you haven't given those women the apology that they deserve. It's weird, isn't it? How the press just let everything go with you. Like, who really did pay for that house in Frinton? And if it was your partner, how did she get the money? Because apparently she's not from money. But suddenly, at £885,000 cash in order to buy a house. But there are serious questions around it, because it could have been that you gave her the money so that she bought the house so that you avoided the higher stamp duty. But seemingly, despite the press hounding Angela Rayner over a stamp duty issue for a couple of weeks, they just let you off the hook straight away. And now today, one of your mates, the leader of Reform in Wales, has been sent down for 10 years for essentially being a Russian asset. And yet Nathan Gill is not a household name, even though he is a genuine traitor. But you can already sense that this story is being swept away. And bizarrely, Nigel, considering that you love giving a press conference, you haven't said anything about it. But it's even weirder than that. A member of your party, a friend of yours, who, let's not forget, originally you said wasn't a friend of yours, and then you said he was a friend of yours. Just like you said you hadn't met the Russian ambassador, but then this photo appeared and, well, you admitted that you had met the Russian ambassador. And it was your party over in Brussels that essentially was supporting Putin to spread disinformation. Plus throw in the fact that you love a little bit of cryptocurrency. That'll be the cryptocurrency that nobody can trace where it's come from. And you attempted, with Marine Le Pen, to stop the EU scrutinising where Russian money was going to nationalist parties. Throw in the fact that you're mentioned 20 times in the Epstein files in relation to Steve Bannon and Epstein and Bannon's plans to promote populist parties. Plus, don't forget the fact that Epstein was potentially offering to give Putin stuff to blackmail Western leaders. Plus the fact that you stood up in Brussels saying the exact same stuff that Nathan Gill has just been sentenced for saying because he was paid to say it by Russia. Plus, there's this lovely picture of you here with Nadia being the wife of the guy that was paying Nathan Gill. And Nadia said in this post that she was going to miss you over in Brussels. Plus, there's this picture of you over in Brussels in Nathan Gill's office holding up a gift from Nadia celebrating Brexit, and it was reposted by her husband, you know, the guy that paid Nathan Gill to say the Russian propaganda, which was the same Russian propaganda that you were just saying for free. So with all of that going on, you would think Reform, being responsible and thinking it's going to get into government at the next general election, would want to investigate to check that there's no other Russian assets working on behalf of Putin but pretending to be a British patriot. But you haven't. There's been no investigation. But you haven't. You've said Nathan Gill was just the one bad apple. And now our Prime Minister is demanding that as a party you try to investigate. But why does this have to be explained to you? And probably the reason is, Nigel, you have no critical thinking. You're not an elected leader, you bought a party. You've surrounded yourself with sycophants, most of whom are also friends with Nathan Gill. You actually couldn't organise a piss-up in a brewery. And for some bizarre reason, our media aren't concerned about this. Actually, that's not fair. Peter Jukes for Byline Times has been extraordinary. So has Carol Cadwallader. But our mainstream media just lets you off the hook every time. Like any leader with an ounce of critical thinking skills would be demanding an investigation to prove that actually their party is whiter than white, which is a term that you'd probably quite like. But you're just not bright enough to even work that much out. You think you're going to blag your way out of it, and our media allow you to do that. Like, other than being an extraordinary communicator, you're actually a bit of a failure. Your parents paid for you to go to one of the best public schools in the land, Dulwich College, and you left there, weren't able to go to university, went into the trading market like your dad. You weren't a very successful trader by all accounts, and then you suddenly became this anti-European politician. But you've never been able to work with other people, you've always had to work for yourself. But again, you're not even a businessman. You promote your media company, which is essentially you doing public appearances. You mix in some very dubious circles, and you surround yourself with people who are equally quite limited. Deputy Dick has been with you for years, but he's equally a product of his upbringing. Posh schooling, still didn't do that well at school, got himself a degree, but a bit like you, went into the family business. Neither of you are really self-made men, are you? You're a product of your entitled upbringing. I mean, take Deputy Dick today writing in the Telegraph. He's making out that he received a death threat over some of the horrific things that he said about SEN children the other day in the press conference. Now, I've got to say, I don't think anybody should be receiving death threats. But what he said in that press conference was pig ignorant. Like, he believes that the government have increased their spending for SEN children, but they haven't. And in fact, local councils, who are the people that give the additional funding if a child has got an EHCP, are desperately trying not to give EHCPs because they don't have the money. Meaning parents with SEN children that need an EHCP, which would secure extra funding sometimes for them to get additional help at school, are having to fight the system for their children just to be able to survive at school. But Deputy Dick clearly doesn't understand any of this. He seems to think, really, that an SEN child should be in a wheelchair. He clearly hasn't heard the phrase that not all disabilities are visual. And this ridiculous statement about he's seen a family friend in their 20s be diagnosed with ADHD and suddenly had to go on medication. And Deputy Dick thinks that is a problem. Deputy Dick clearly doesn't know how debilitating it is for people who lack executive functioning skills. He clearly hasn't seen how people's mental health can deteriorate when they're kind of working against a neurotypical world. So the fact that his friend's son has suddenly got a medication that can help him to deal with the lack of executive functioning skills should be something to celebrate. But Deputy Dick thinks that's a big pharma conspiracy. It's a bit like saying diabetics, stop giving them insulin. It's a big pharma conspiracy. It's a ludicrous statement. As ludicrous as him suggesting that children wearing ear defenders in classrooms because of sensory overload is insane. Whereas the real insanity is that we have somebody who believes that they're going to be a senior politician in a future cabinet who can't even understand basic psychology, but thinks he understands enough to just make a statement about it because somebody has told him that maybe it's gone a bit too much. No critical thinking, no looking at the fact that SEN provision has actually reduced in schools because the Tories kept closing SEN schools. No curiosity about why has the SEN provision increased so much. He doesn't understand it and claims the people asking him about it are just cheap journalists. Because like you, Nigel, he can't deal with scrutiny because he's not intelligent enough to deal with it. But like you, has got serious questions to answer about what he knew about your friend Nathan Gill, the Russian asset. You see, it's bonkers, isn't it? Like, I'm a little content creator getting really frustrated by all of this because I don't understand why the British media aren't asking more questions. Because it seems to me you are a national security risk. Anyway, good chats, as you were.